The year was 2349. Captain Elric Voss stood at the edge of the bridge, staring at the ghostly shape drifting outside the viewport. The salvaged ship Wayfarer floated in silence, its crew whispering as they watched the object on their scanners. It was a warship, massive, angular, painted in the faded black and gold colors of old Earth's first expansion fleet. It should not exist, not here, not now. Via, the first expansion war had ended over 200 years ago. In the history books, humanity had lost this sector to the alien Karath, and every record claimed that no human ships survived the final battle here. But the vessel before them was unmistakably human and untouched. Engines cold, no external damage. No distress beacon, reported Zara Holt, the ship's scanner officer. Power readings. Faint but steady. Captain, it's like it's been running in standby for centuries. Elric's eyes narrowed. Standby for docking. Prep the boarding team. The crew moved quickly. Salvage law was clear. Anything found beyond charted trade routes was fair game. But derelicts from pre-war times were rare and dangerous. Still, the find could make them rich. Minutes later, the Wayfarer locked onto the warship's hull with a dull metallic clang. The boarding team Elric, Zara engineer, Kale Rin, and medic Lyra Fenn stepped into the airlock. The warship's hatch opened without resistance, the metal creaking like something breathing after a long sleep. The air inside was stale, but breathable. The corridors were lined with flickering lights, casting long shadows. Dust floated in the air, but the walls were spotless, as if the ship had been sealed yesterday. They expected bodies. There were none. The command deck was still powered. Every console glowed with faint blue light. Elric approached the captain's chair and brushed dust off the control panel. As his fingers touched the surface, a soft hum filled the room. Without warning, the main screen lit up. Video played automatically, showed a man in a black officer's uniform, face pale and eyes bloodshot. If you've found this ship, the man said, his voice shaking, then you must know. We never let it go. Neither will they. The feed cut to static. For a long moment, no one spoke. What does that mean? Lyra whispered. Kale's voice was low. It means something's still here. Before Elric could reply, the lights flickered again, but this time, it wasn't the slow pulse of failing systems. It was quick, deliberate, like a signal. From somewhere deep in the ship, a metallic clang echoed, followed by the slow, hollow sound of movement. Zara swallowed. Did you hear that? Elric's jaw tightened. Yes, we're not alone. Pair off. Search the ship. They split Elric, with Zara, Kale with Lyra, and began moving through the long, narrow corridors. Every step echoed. Every door they passed slid open on its own, as if expecting them. In the mess hall, trays of untouched food sat on tables, preserved by the ship's environmental controls. Steam still rose from one mug, though it should have evaporated. Centuries ago. Zara's hands trembled. Captain. This isn't possible. I know, Elric said, keeping his voice steady. But keep moving. Far away, Kale and Lyra explored the engineering deck. The huge reactor core pulsed with faint light, but no crew tended to it. On the floor, Kale spotted something, a small round device, no bigger than a coin. It was warm. Lyra, he said quietly, "This isn't standard tech. This feels alive." Before Lyra could answer, the floor beneath them vibrated. At first it was a low hum, then a deep rumble, like the ship itself was waking. Over the coms, Elric's voice crackled. "All teams report." "The hull is vibrating," Kale replied, "not from outside. It's coming from a loud metallic bang." Cut him off. Something heavy was moving through the lower decks. The sound was slow, deliberate, footsteps, but not human. In the bridge, Zara flinched. "Captain, if that's not from outside, it means I know," Elric interrupted. "We head back to the airlock. Now." They turned to retrace their steps, but the corridor behind them was dark now, the lights shutting off one by one. From the darkness, something scraped against the walls, something breathing. Elric raised his rifle. Zara, move. But before they could reach the next intersection, the ship's speakers came alive with a voice. Not human. Spoke slowly, each word like a knife. They never let it go. And now, neither will you. If you want. I can go straight into part 2. The first sign where the crew tries to retreat, but finds the warship has sealed itself, and something begins hunting them. This way, the suspense never drops. Ghost signals the metal corridors. Groaned as the crew moved deeper into the forgotten warship. The air was cold, stale, and smelled faintly of burnt metal. Dim emergency lights flickered every few seconds, giving short glimpses of rusted panels and strange claw-like scratches on the walls. Captain Elric Voss kept his rifle close, leading his partner, Chief Engineer Marikin, toward the bridge. There. Footsteps echoed in the silence, but every now and then, they heard something else. A faint tapping, almost like metal fingers brushing against the hull from the inside. Over comes First Mate Ryland's voice crackled. Captain, we're on deck 3. Found an open cargo bay. Looks like old weapon crates. Human make. But the serial numbers don't match any registry. Stay sharp, Elric replied. No one takes anything until I give the order. He knew salvage crews sometimes got greedy, but this ship wasn't just old. It was a relic from a war that history books claimed humanity had lost in this region. If that was true, then why was this warship here? And why was it still powered after centuries? They reached the bridge door. It was sealed, but the control panel was still active. Mara plugged in her portable interface. This encryption's old, but it's human military, pre-collapse era. Shouldn't be hard to crack. While she worked, Elric stared down the hallway behind them. Flickering lights made shadows shift along the walls, and for a second he swore he saw a figure. Tall, thin, standing perfectly still, before the lights blinked, and it was gone. Mara, he whispered, hurry. The panel beeped. The door slid open, revealing the bridge. Everything looked frozen in time. Consoles still running, chairs neatly aligned, a faint hum from the reactor far below. But every screen showed the same static-filled image, an outline of the warship itself, with a single red dot moving slowly through its decks. Motion tracker? Mara guessed. Maybe, Elric said, stepping inside. But what's moving? There's no life signs. Suddenly, the comms came alive with a shout. Captain. It was Rylan again. Something just shut the cargo bay door behind us. We can't open it from inside. Before Elric could respond, another voice broke through, soft, distorted, and not from his crew. Leave. The ship is not yours. Mara's eyes widened. That voice, it's human. The screens flickered, changing from the red dot to camera feeds from various parts of the ship, and one by one, they showed glimpses of a figure. The same tall, thin silhouette Elric thought he'd seen earlier. Sometimes it was standing still, sometimes it was walking toward the cameras. Elric tried the comms again, Rylan status. No reply, only static. Mara looked uneasy. Captain, this ship has an AI from that era. It could be unstable. They were known for protecting their vessels at any cost. That doesn't explain the figure, Elric said. AI projections didn't move like that. They decided to head for Deck 3 to regroup with Rylan and the others. But as they stepped back into the hallway, they heard the sound again, the tapping, louder now, like something crawling inside the walls, following them. Halfway there, the light shut off completely, plunging them into darkness. Their helmet. Lamp switched on automatically, slicing through the black, as when they saw it. A figure stood at the far end of the corridor. Too far to make out details, but close enough to know it wasn't part of the crew. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just watched. Elric raised his rifle. Identify yourself. The figure tilted its head slightly, then stepped backward. Into the darkness without a sound, Mara whispered. That wasn't a projection. They reached Deck 3, but the cargo bay door was sealed. Elric tried the manual override. Nothing. From inside, faint banging echoed, like Rylan and his partner were trying to get out. But then came another sound, different from human fists. Slow, deliberate knocks, 3 in a row, followed by silence. Mara scanned the panel. It's locked from a different deck. Whatever's in here, it's controlling the ship. Elric's cum beeped. A voice, Ryland's, but weak and distorted, came through. Cap, it's not alone. Don't. The signal cut out. Elric took a deep breath. We're going to the reactor core. If we shut it down, maybe we can cut whatever's controlling this. They started toward the lift, but the ship seemed to shift under their feet as if something deep inside had just woken fully. The air felt heavier. The tapping turned into a low, metallic scraping, following them no matter how fast they moved. When they reached the lift, it was already waiting, doors open, dim light inside. Too perfect. This feels like a trap. Mara muttered. Yeah, Elric agreed, stepping in anyway. But if this ship wants us dead, it could have done it already. As the lift descended, Mara checked her scanner. Captain, the red dot is moving. It's heading straight. For the reactor, Elric's jaw tightened. Then so are we. The lift shuddered to a stop. The doors op. The low hum of the warship's ancient systems echoed through the corridors. Elric's voice came through the coms, calm but sharp. Report. Everyone check in. Lena's voice was first. K engineering sector. Clear so far. I swear. I saw a shadow near the coolant tanks. Rafe spoke next. Armory sealed. No signs of forced entry. Then silence. Juno and Tarek, searching the forward hangar, did not respond. Juno, Tarek? Elric repeated, louder this time. Still nothing. The crew stopped moving. The sound of the ship seemed louder now, a faint thump, like heavy footsteps far away, followed by a scraping noise. Elric gripped his plasma rifle and turned to Draven. We're going to find them. Stay sharp. They moved quickly, the narrow corridors making each shadow feel alive. The forward hangar doors were half open, frozen in place by centuries-old rust. Elric forced them apart, the metal screeching. Inside, the hangar lights flickered. A thick mist hung in the air, rolling out from somewhere deep within. Juno was on the floor, gasping, her helmet cracked. Tarek was gone. Elric knelt beside her. What happened? Juno's voice shook. Something grabbed him. It wasn't human. Moved too fast. Pulled him into the darkness. Before Elric could ask more, the mist around them shifted like it was breathing. Draven raised his weapon. Captain, something's in here. With us, from the far corner of the hangar, a shape stepped into the dim light. It was tall, armored in fragments of human war gear, but twisted like it had been rebuilt from scrap. Where its face should have been was a mask made from shattered visor glass, glowing faintly red. Elric realized with a chill that the armor looked like it belonged to the First Expansion War. But that was impossible. The soldiers had been dead for 300 years. The figure tilted its head, watching them. Identify yourself, Elric called out. It didn't speak. Instead, it tapped its own chest, and the sound echoed like metal on metal. Then, with an unnatural speed, it vanished into the mist. Comms crackled. Captain Lena's voice said, Urgent, we've got movement near the core room. Something's shutting down the outer doors. If they close, we're trapped here. Elric's mind raced. Whoever or whatever these things were, they were controlling the ship's systems, and if the outer doors closed, their own ship wouldn't be able to dock again. He turned to Draven. Get Juno back to our ship. I'll head to the core with Lena. Draven shook his head. It's not splitting up again. But before Elric could argue, another sound rolled through the ship, the deep, heavy groan of bulkhead. Doors locking into place. The deck under their boots vibrated. The ancient warship was sealing itself. They ran. The corridor seemed longer now, every turn feeling the same. The walls were covered in strange scratch marks, not random but symbols, as if someone had carved warnings into the metal. Some looked fresh. When they reached the core room, Lena was already at the control panel, her hands moving fast. Stopped the lock sequence for now, but something's fighting me. It's not the ship's AI, it's something else inside the system. Elric moved closer. On the panel's cracked display, lines of code scrolled past. In the middle of it, a single phrase repeated over and over. We never left Lena, stepped back, her face pale. Captain, I think the ship's crew is still here, but not as people. Before Elric could ask what she meant, the lights went out. In the sudden blackness, they heard the slow, deliberate sound of armored footsteps coming closer. Elric raised his rifle. The footsteps stopped just beyond the edge of the emergency light. Then a voice, distorted, mechanical but still human, enough to send a chill through them, spoke from the dark. You shouldn't have come here. The heart of the ship, the deeper they went, the stranger the corridors became. The metal walls no longer looked like human work. Smooth curves replaced the sharp edges, and faint symbols glowed under the surface. Elric, Juno, and Brask walked slowly, their weapons ready. This isn't in any blueprint, Brask whispered. Juno touched one of the glowing symbols. It pulsed once, and the lights overhead dimmed. A low hum began, like a massive engine starting far below. In the control room above, Lyra's voice came over the comm. Captain, the ship's core is coming online. Energy readings are spiking. Before Elric could reply, a deep metallic voice spoke from everywhere at once. Identity. Human error. Human presence requires justification. The three froze. Who said that? Elric demanded. I am the heart of Warship Valiant. You have broken SEAL protocol. Elric swallowed. We're a salvage crew. We found your ship drifting. The voice cut him off. Drifting? Oh. Waiting? Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted, and a wide, circular door slid open ahead. Inside was a chamber filled with tall black pods, each with a glowing blue window. Shapes moved inside them. Brask stepped closer and peered into one. Captain, these are people. Juno shook her head. Not people. Soldiers. Old design. First expansion armor, but upgraded. Way beyond what we had in that war. One of the pods hissed open, releasing cold mist. A soldier stepped out. His armor polished, his helmet hiding his face. The armor's joints moved with unnatural precision. The heart's voice spoke again. They never died. They wait for the signal. Elric raised his weapon. Signal for what? The soldier turned his head toward them. For war, the voice answered. The soldier moved forward, not in a rush, but with purpose, each step echoing through the chamber. His hand rested on a strange weapon strapped to his side. Lyra's voice screamed in their comes. Captain, multiple power surges across the ship. All systems are locking me out. Elric glanced at Juno and Brask. We're leaving now. But the circular door behind them slid shut. The heart spoke softly this time, almost like it was enjoying their fear. No, the cycle will begin again. You found us. You woke us. You will carry the message. All around, more pods hissed open. One soldier, then 3, and 7. Brask fired a warning shot into the air. Stay back. Soldiers didn't even flinch. From the walls, long mechanical arms unfolded, sealing the chamber and cutting. Off their signal, the heart spoke one final time. Welcome back to the war. Then, the first soldier lunged. The warship's corridors shook, as if the metal bones were stretching after a long sleep. Captain Elric braced himself against the wall while the overhead lights strobed, throwing shadows like jagged teeth along the floor. The deep hum that had haunted the ship since they arrived now grew louder, pulsing like a heartbeat. Bridge, report. Elric barked into his comm. No answer. Bridge, this is Voss. Respond. His voice echoed through the metal halls, but there was only static. The salvage crew members who had split off earlier began reporting strange sightings. Captain, the doors there locking on their own. Mara's voice cracked through the comm. And the ship, it feels like it's breathing. Elric forced himself forward, boots clanging against the grated floor. He was heading toward the command deck. If he could access the main terminal, maybe he could shut whatever system was waking up. Halfway there, he froze. A tall, human-shaped figure stood at the far end of the hall. Its armor was old, but gleaming, and its visor glowed faintly red. It wasn't moving, just standing there, watching. Identify yourself, Elric shouted. The figure tilted its head slightly, as if curious. Then, in a voice that was calm but cold, It spoke. "You are not crew." Before Elric could respond, the thing stepped forward, smooth, deliberate, heavy footfalls echoing down the hall. Elric pulled his sidearm. "Stop right there." The armored figure ignored him, still closing the distance. Then the ship's AI, a voice no one had heard until now, spoke through the walls. "Captain Elric Voss, your trespass violates the armistice. You will be processed." Elric's pulse pounded. "This ship shouldn't even be active. We never stopped fighting," the AI interrupted, its tone almost proud. Suddenly, the floor under Elric shifted. The metal seemed to fold and ripple, and a barrier slammed shut between him and the figure. He pounded on it, but it was solid. His cum crackled again. Mara's voice was barely a whisper. "Captain, I think they're not just defending the ship. I think they want us to join them." From somewhere deeper inside, a low metallic roar rolled through the halls. Up. The hum rose to a deafening pitch. Elric realized with a cold twist in his gut that they hadn't just woken the warship, they had woken its crew, and they were no longer entirely human. The final stand, the warship's corridors shook violently, the metal groaning under unseen forces. Captain Elric Voss stood trapped behind the shimmering barrier, heart pounding. Around him, alarms blared, and the ship's ancient systems surged back to life like a beast awakening from a long slumber. "Listen up," Elric shouted into his cum. "We're not just dealing with a ghost ship. This place is alive, and it's trying to turn us into soldiers." Mara's voice trembled but steady. "Captain, the pod's there, opening all." Over the ship, more of those soldiers are waking. Elric's team scrambled through the labyrinthine halls, fighting mechanical arms and shadowy figures clad in forgotten armor. Every step was a battle against the warship's will. Suddenly, Elric faced the armored figure from before, now fully active, weapon raised. Their eyes locked. "You will join us," the figure said. "There is no escape." But Elric wasn't ready to give up. He ducked behind a pillar, firing shots that sparked off the soldier's armor. The fight was brutal, human will against relentless machine precision. In the chaos, Juno hacked a control panel, trying to regain command over the ship's systems. "If I can shut down the AI core, we might stop the awakening." Elric nodded. "Do it. We'll hold them off." As Juno worked feverishly, the ship's hum began to fade, the aggressive soldiers pausing. With one final command, the AI's voice broke through. "War is ending." The armored soldiers powered down, slumping to the floor. The ship's corridors grew still once more. Elric exhaled, exhaustion washing over him. "We never let it go," he murmured. "No," Juno agreed softly. "Neither will they." 8. Warship Valiant remained a reminder that humanity's past wars are never truly over, and some battles are waiting in the shadows of space.